Marvel Studios has introduced a sacred timeline. What it is, take a guess. You're probably right or wrong. Who knows? They don't even seem to know. I mean, multiple people involved with Loki have tried to explain it and it just causes way more confusion. Now let's hear a new explanation. So before we get into this, which comes directly from Loki's and Multiverse of Madness writer Michael Waldron, let's just state this because it's obvious fact. You can't explain multiverses and timelines simply, or time travel, or anything, because it changes depending on the property. One thing that you might have grown up understanding is completely thrown out the window and doesn't make sense. For example, most people know Back to the Future time travel. That time travel, despite it being my favorite franchise in the world when it comes to films, is garbage. It contradicts itself within minutes. But, when it comes to the MCU, it's a little bit more complex. So, talking to Screen Crush, the head writer Michael Waldron tried to explain this, saying that infinite instances of time are always occurring at once, and that everything can be canonized and everything can be written and unwritten from the flow of time. And he says that there's always different permutations and instances happening at once. The TVA has their own version of what they look for, and that's their deviation and the one they deemed the sacred timeline. Now, everything I just said, again, it just causes more confusion. So they're saying that in the flow of time that's normal, there is infinite timelines and the TVA keeps infinite timelines in order, but when they try to branch off, they prune them. But then what's the point? Aren't you just saying the same thing has just gone on? Like, for example, he says that in the sacred timeline, there is a version of this video, for example, and 10 seconds from now, the video exists. 10 seconds in the past, the video exists. So the sacred timeline is a flowing timeline, but there's also variations of it that are slight, that are still flowing, but if they deviate too much, they're pruned and reset. I think that's what I'm getting, But this goes against some of the other things we've heard, even with them. And I think this is just cause for confusion because you can't explain time travel, multiverses, or anything in one way, shape, and form and then not have something else contradict it. It's literally impossible because we can't physically time travel, so we don't know how it works. So anything you say is different. And if you include the ending of Avengers Endgame with Captain America, that raises even more questions with the whole sacred timeline and what's predetermined, what's not allowed, and so forth. So it's kind of an explanation, but not really. I guess they kept one timeline in check perfectly. Slight variations were allowed that would eventually convert back onto the main, but big ones are not allowed. Secret Wars is going to be a nightmare to explain to casuals. A nightmare.